Welcome to Opinions in 10, online posts and biblical opinions in under 10 minutes. Starting now. Today's post comes from NaturalOK4208. Am I the jerk for telling my coworker that it's not my fault that she's unhappy? It's a throwaway account because my coworkers know my main account. My coworker, who's a 32-year-old female, let's call her Sarah, and I, a 26-year-old female, were hired at the same time around 2 months ago alongside a larger group of new hires. We all have the same job title, and because we were all onboarded at the same time, we have been spending a decent amount of time together. In the time I've known Sarah, she's always had a complaint of some kind and is never happy. I find that really draining to be around, so I've been trying to limit how much time we have to interact outside of necessary meetings. But she seemed to really latch on to me and been asking a lot of questions throughout the onboarding process, and I've been getting really annoyed. We started at the same time. I don't have access to more information. I just pay attention during orientation and trainings. She's super behind on getting access to buildings, equipment, software, etc. And she has been complaining about it constantly, when I think it's really her fault for not putting in the work to make sure these things were checked off from the beginning. She recently found out that I went to an Ivy League school for undergrad and has been making snide comments about how I am so lucky to have been handed such great opportunities. I sort of snapped and told her that I worked hard for these opportunities, and the job market right now is trash anyways, so it's not like going to an Ivy League school did all that much for me. She said I was being super ungrateful, and that if she had that kind of leg up, things would be so much better in her life. So I said, and here's where I might be the jerk, that it's not my fault that she is unhappy with her life, and maybe things would be better if she lived more in the present and actually paid attention to what's going on around her, instead of just relying on me to fill her in after the fact. I feel like a jerk for snapping at her, but am I a justified jerk? Like, do I have any ground to stand on if she reports me to HR or something? Okay, I know coworkers like this, and you know coworkers like this. I think it's safe to say that everyone listening to this knows coworkers like this. In fact, I've gone through a time when I had at least 3 of them at the same job at the same time. They jabber on and on about all of their problems, everything they've ever done, and so on, as your eyes glaze over and you start thinking about cake or something. But they don't seem to notice that you're not listening anymore and keep going. In the end, everyone in the building can write a biography on that person's life in excruciating detail, and that coworker doesn't seem to notice that she's been an annoyance to anyone. My point is that we all know our own Sarah. She works for most of the companies in the Western world, and everyone knows who she is. These people, as comes as a shock to no one, and they will readily admit, have many problems of their own. Their negativity seems to come from either a parent who was abusive in some way or another prominent figure in their lives. My Sarah, that comes to mind immediately at this moment, had both an abusive father and a husband with anger issues. The talkativeness and inability to tell what is appropriate to say stems from a sense of loneliness. They may be surrounded by people, but they don't feel connected to any of them. After a time of living this way, they just forget how to behave properly in a social situation and start saying things that are just bizarre or too informative. The kinds of stuff that nobody ever needs to know. but seems appropriate because the person has been isolated for a while and is out of practice socially. Unfortunately, there isn't much that you can do for this kind of person. They need a wake-up call, but they may become angry and reject the wake-up call if it is given. Solomon offers some wisdom that isn't exactly for this situation per se, but can be extrapolated and applied. In Proverbs 19:19, he says, "A man of great wrath will suffer punishment, because if you rescue him, you will only have to do it again." The proverb applies to people with uncontrolled emotional issues, including, but not limited to, being hot-tempered. But it doesn't have to stop there. It can include anything where the person who has the emotion has no handle on it. The proverb teaches us that if you bail out that sort of person when their issues lead them into trouble, you are just going to start a pattern where you are the one they come to continually bail them out every time. And whether they see it like this or not, you will be doing a disservice to that person. Because there is a law the Bible speaks of called sowing and reaping. This law, plainly stated, shows that in life people are going to reap the fruit that they sow. If you sow trouble, you reap trouble. If you speak harshly to people, you reap argument or disconnection. If you do good, you participate in good also, etc. But when you step in and you interrupt that law from happening, people don't get to see the results of their actions because you've stopped it from happening. Then the lessons that were meant to be learned from that person growing what they have planted in life, so to speak, are not learned, and that person does not grow. For example, if someone spends all of their paycheck on alcohol and has no money left for groceries, and then you step in and buy groceries every time, he's not reaping the consequence of his action and will never learn responsibility. In the case of your coworker, she may be unable to grow and learn responsibility if you continually step in to save her from the consequences of being irresponsible. Yelling might not have been the best way to do it, but I think the result is correct. As to whether or not she takes the lesson, that's another issue. People like this go negative very fast. If I were you, I would keep any written communication between you, if there is any. You want to be prepared. You also may want to consider going to HR first to complain about the issue. It may be easier for you to bring it up than for them to wear their ears out with this woman first, and then talk to you with the attitude of just wanting to do what it takes to get her to stop talking. And that'll be it for this week. If you like this channel, like and subscribe. I'll see you next time. God bless.